Yes, get ready for the legal dictation containing 720 words at the speed of 90 words per minute with fluctuation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. This is an application filed under Section 11 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Read with paragraph 3 of the scheme framed by Honorable Chief Justice of India under Section 11 of the said Act for appointment of an arbitrator. It is the case of the petitioner that the parties had entered into an agreement. As per the agreement, the respondent non-applicant was to supply 12,000 MT metal scraps consisting of used rails to the petitioner applicant. The rate was fixed at US 240 PMT and the total contract value was 3 million US dollars. The payment was to be made on DP basis within 4 to 7 days of receipt of documents in buyer's bank as mentioned in Article 14 of the agreement. Article 20 of the agreement provided for a penalty in case of failure, late delivery of the materials. In accordance with the agreement, the applicant has sent to the non-applicant $1 million from time to time, but no material was received from the non-applicant. In the meantime, in anticipation of the receipt of the material, the applicant had already entered into an agreement for sale of the same. In spite of the repeated requests, the material was not sent by the non-applicant. Consequently, on 29th October 2009, the applicant sent a notice to the non-applicant seeking to refer the matter to arbitration in terms of the arbitration clause contained in Article 24 of the agreement, which reads as under. This contract is under the Polish law. The European Union member is only accepted any dispute arising from or in connection with the contract shall be settled through friendly negotiation. In case no settlement is reached, the dispute shall be submitted to district court in Spain and India for arbitration in accordance with its rules in effect at the time of applying for arbitration. The arbitral award is final and binding upon both parties. A perusal of the aforesaid clause indicates that the parties were at liberty to submit to the arbitration to an appropriate authority either in Spain or in India. By the aforesaid notice, the applicant has chosen to seek arbitration in India. In spite of the opportunity having been given to the non-applicant, they have not chosen to nominate any arbitrator. The office report indicates that the service of notice in this matter is complete. However, in spite of the notice having been served, none appears on behalf of the non-applicant. The arguments made in the petition have remained uncontroverted. The arbitration clause does not indicate as to whether the arbitration is to be referred to a sole arbitrator or more than one arbitrator. Learned counsel for the applicant submits that the applicant would be satisfied if the matter is referred to the sole arbitrator. He has also submitted that it would be appropriate to nominate a former judge of this court. In my opinion, there is a valid subsisting arbitration clause. The non-applicant seems to have prima facie acted in breach of the agreement. The dispute seems to have arisen out of a bona fide arrangement between the parties. The arbitration petition also seems to have been filed within limitation. In such circumstances, I allow this petition and refer the dispute raised in this petition or any other dispute that may become available to the parties to the sole arbitrator. The non-applicant shall be at liberty to raise any counterclaim if so advised. I hereby appoint Mr. Justice B.P. Singh, former judge of this court, as the sole arbitrator. The learned arbitrator shall be at liberty to fix his own remuneration and any other terms and conditions for the arbitration as deemed fit and proper at his sole discretion. The seat of the arbitration shall be in Delhi. However, the arbitrator may hold the arbitration proceedings at a place most convenient to the parties either within India or outside India. In our country also, when the Criminal Procedure Code 1861 was enacted, it was silent about the compounding of offence. Subsequently, when the next code of 1872 was introduced, it mentioned about compounding in section 188 by providing the mode of compounding. However, it did not contain any provision declaring what offences were compoundable. Stop. Yes, get ready for the general matter dictation containing 720 words at the same speed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. The job of the Indian Medical Council should be to point out the lacuna and to get the improvements effected, and for that purpose the Mudaliar Committee has suggested the appointment of a quinquennial commission to go into the question of medical education. So, as a whole, the Mudaliar Committee has also commented upon the manner in which the inspectors of medical council are appointed. They have suggested that the inspecting body should consist of educationists representing the Union Ministry of Health, representative of the university concerned, and 3 experts nominated by the medical council. They have said that the persons so chosen should be of at least 10 years standing. They want that senior persons should go for inspection, and they want that the term of the inspectors should be between 3 to 5 years so that there is uniformity in inspection in the manner in which the institutions are to be upgraded, how they are to be improved upon, etc. The last one deals with medical ethics. As far as that part is concerned, I would like to say that it is the medical profession itself which can maintain ethical standards which are going down or which have gone down. In such matters, the Indian Medical Association should be taken into confidence by the ministry as well as the medical council because the maintenance of medical ethics is necessary if we want the noble profession to be called noble and not to be commercialized. The relationship between doctor and doctor, the relationship between doctor and consultant, and the relationship between consultant and consultant has been a matter which has been there from ages as a convention. Unfortunately, in our country, healthy conventions have not taken deep roots, and we hear of and on complaints which are justified and legitimate. One of the worst complaints is that the registered medical practitioners are issuing certificates which are not warranted by the regions for which they are issued. I mean, they are either false or are given on false pretenses. The other place where medical ethics should be enforced is in the matter of medical examination of persons who are proposers for insurance policies. Sometimes there are other reasons why a certain doctor gets all the cases while another doctor who is strict and who conducts the examination according to the procedure laid down is not able to get those proposals. It is for the authorities to patronize and encourage those doctors who are ethical, who practice medicine in an ethical way, and unless and until greater patronage is extended to them or their services are recognized, it will not be possible for medical ethics to be observed by all persons properly. I can give an example. There was a general strike of postal workers, and about 400 to 500 persons fall sick according to medical certificates on one day. That speaks ill of the profession, and it is for the profession to see that such doctors do not lower the prestige of the profession as a whole. This is a good measure. Medical ethics has been brought within the purview of the Medical Council in this bill, and I hope by having an all India standard things will be better. On the whole, this bill is one of the best bills because it has come after the Medical Council has been in existence for some time and the lacunae or the difficulties which they have observed have been removed. But I would request the minister and through you Madam, the medical council itself that instead of sending all the reports to the state ministries concerned, they should also correspond with the universities directly because there are certain medical colleges which are under the universities and the universities are autonomous bodies. Those medical colleges are not under the state. I would plead with the Union Ministry of Health as well as the state ministries to deal with the problem of lowering of standards of education. Whatever lowering of standards has taken place has been because the states have been eager to multiply the number of medical colleges, but the required number of teachers is not forthcoming. The experience is not there. If you insist on 5 years experience for a professor, it is possible one university may appoint him, but another university may not. Stop over.